Yo, 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 hello.
Hello. We're live.
Hello.
It's time.
We are live. Live and in action.
We're live now?
We're live.
We are. It is time.
How's everyone doing?
Doing good. We're doing good. How about you, man?
I'm doing beautiful. Hopefully everyone can see everyone's beautiful faces and mine.
Doing swell.
Yeah, I think everything is going good. Welcome everybody, if anyone's watching right now. This is going to be our political podcast. It's very political. It's going to be like in a talk show kind of format, more than a podcast, I guess. But we kind of decided to do this after the recent passing of Michael Brooks, who was a co-host of the Majority Report and a big part of, I guess not only the online left, but part of the international left and the media. And I don't know, with this passing, I feel like we owed it to start a podcast.
Oh yeah, and he was key in our uprising as leftists.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and on top of that, obviously we're all quarantined and stuck in McDonald land under the regime of President Donald McCheese. So why not start a podcast?
Yeah, man.
Let me introduce myself in case anyone doesn't know me. My name is Jacan Stone. There's nothing at all special about me, so I have no qualifications to be hosting this.
Line
Let's
cook
do it
Doomer.
anyway. Yeah, line cook Doomer. I'm not really gonna. I think labels for the most part are kind of frivolous, and they don't really serve a purpose. You're gonna see what our ideologies are based on the policies we advocate for, etc. But if I had to choose something, I would call myself a socialist or a democratic socialist even. But yeah. So Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So for those who don't know me, Ian Brown, grew up here in Oxnard, California, and I can agree that labels are pretty useless and it's super wishy-washy. Plus, you're always evolving as a human. But my philosophy is definitely post-capitalist. I would consider myself a democratic socialist, reformist Marxist, if I had to pick a label. Really, we're just here to give you leftist, post-capitalist political commentary with lots of comedy, good memes. Definitely a lot of shitting on liberals and conservatives.
Yeah.
That's really all I have to say. Michael, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Michael Reyes, also born here in Oxnard, California. I'm one of the producers here on the show, and I take care of the audio and the graphics you guys see up on the screen. I stand in between a lot of the topics that we might be talking about, so I think that'll be pretty interesting to see how that plays out
Resident
long term
centrist.
in the show. Yeah, right. And so I'd like
Michael's
to
actually much more
introduce-
left than he gives himself credit for, though.
I mean, I'd like to say I'm in between, but I guess, yeah, I'm a little bit more left. But other than that, I'd like to also introduce my co-producer, Carlos.
And the man with no camera is me.
No camera.
The silent man, the man that moved behind the curtains, the true Wizard of Oz.
So
Minus
I'm
the
making
pegging of
this-
kids.
Yeah.
Hey,
Wait, what's wrong with
keep that-
pegging
we
kids?
Keep that on the down low. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So
Do you guys want to kick it off? You guys want to
Yeah.
news?
I'm going to start it off first with the most current event. That's usually how we're going to start these podcasts. So the first thing, the most relevant thing that's happening right now is the U.S. Navy seized Chinese ships on their way to Iran that was carrying medical supplies. And this is not only important because it shows how disgusting the United States is, but it's kind of just continuing the same footing of the United States. We've been sanctioning Iran for years now. Not only that, but doing illegal sanctions on things like medicine, which
Right.
is against international law. It's a war crime, super illegal. But we continue to do it because who's gonna stop us? Not only that, our history with Iran goes farther than that. Just a couple months ago-ish.
In January, yeah.
Yeah, January, we killed one of their top generals who not too long ago, before that, was our ally in fighting ISIS. He was one of the leaders of their foreign policy in Iran, and we just decided to nuke him for no reason. which is pretty insane to me that we can just kill top generals for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty ridiculous.
it's insane.
I mean, it follows our foreign policy in Iran since like, you know, the 50s though, when we assassinated their democratically elected president. So it's nothing new for sure, but yeah.
Nothing new for the United States.
I guess in further current news, we weren't going to cover this originally, but I mean, we can't not cover it. But this huge explosion that happened in Lebanon, in Beirut,
Right.
they're saying it was ammonium nitrate or something like that.
Yeah, about like 2,700 tons of ammonium
Yeah.
nitrate. Right.
That's
I'm
tons
sure
liquid. That's like that's the different
tons.
tons, right?
Yeah.
And that translates to like
Yeah.
200 U.S. tons if we're using
Right.
So
Which is like 100 times the Oklahoma City bombing or something ridiculous.
a fuck ton of explosives. Like
We'll play the video and then we'll bring up another element of this that maybe isn't being talked about. Shit, man. It doesn't look less surreal, like, no matter how many times you see
no,
it. Too.
it's insane no matter what.
Let's do it one more time.
Jesus Christ.
But,
I mean, what do you even think in that moment? It's just like accepting death, kind of.
Yeah, but for a different or alternative angle, obviously it's tragic. I mean, they're saying it's killed, you know, minimum hundreds of people now.
And that was just one of many angles or like perspectives of the actual like explosion.
Right. Yeah, there's some that look in some ways
so
crazier. Yeah.
And seeing like
there was other ones where like they were like super close to the explosion. Obviously a lot of them didn't really make it. But
one of the real tragedies, and to kind of bring it back into, you know, U.S. foreign policy. I mean, Lebanon has been getting hammered with sanctions for, you know, quite a long time too, and now I saw a figure that some like, you know, 300,000 plus people are now going to be in some way homeless or have, you know, homelessness problems because of this in Beirut.
Right.
Which is crazy because 300,000 people homeless in a global pandemic and a recession, plus we have the nerve to, you know, put sanctions on them,
which
it's
further just strangles their economy.
Right. It's disgusting.
Screws them over.
Yeah, and
especially now with this explosion, and now they're in a state of an emergency. Now.
It's their whole port that blew up there.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And so to even get supplies in, it's got to be through the air, dropping it off at another port and then driving it up to Beirut.
But we've seen these feigns from different U.S. establishment politicians. Being, oh, it's so sad, but like meanwhile we're doing these sanctions on them, while there's hundreds of thousands of people homeless because of this. So you watch who's speaking, because it might be crocodile tears in this case.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So let's go on to our first actual topic, which we wanted to start the show off.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about something which is kind of crazy that I learned about recently. It's called the Constitution Free Zone, or the Constitution Free Zone. It's a 100-mile border inland, for basically just anywhere that borders the U.S., whether it be land or sea. And in this Constitution Free Zone, your Fourth Amendment right is basically just ripped from you, because you can potentially be an illegal immigrant.
Right, just no due process.
Absolutely no due process. And as you can see on the screen here, and for those who are listening, nearly 2/3 of the population of the entire United States lives within this 100-mile zone. So 2/3 of our population, millions and millions of people, can just get stopped, arrested for no reason because they look weird. Because some fucking prick was like, oh, he might be an immigrant, let's fuck with him today.
Right, or even if they're not, even if they don't have that assumption, they can do anything because
exactly.
They've stripped your amendment more or less.
They have all the power and you have nothing. And to think so many Americans are just fucked. And if you go back up to the picture really quick, you can see like Hawaii. Hawaii is
Yeah.
all red. Almost all of Florida is all red.
Yeah.
These
so
people.
We also assume like our territories like Hawaii or like Puerto Rico are just solid red because they're just no red.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even consider them states, but
yeah. And yeah, we were talking this before the show, but like personal experience in Hawaii, like it's just they've turned it into a giant military base, and they don't care at all for how they overstretch their boundaries on people's land that have lived there for thousands of years.
Who's gonna stop them?
Yeah, well, me.
What
it's already small as it is.
Single-handedly.
Like, adding this border to it is just, or adding more red, it just isn't. It just takes up like almost like the majority of it. It's pretty ridiculous.
Well, it's awful.
Hawaii, yeah.
Yeah, but tied into this Constitution free zone, the people that are taking advantage of this are generally these federal groups like DHS, ICE, BORTAC, and so we have another article related to that also.
Yeah, I mean, and that just
unless you want to finish anything off there.
No, yeah, we can take it straight to this.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and start it off. Half of the people killed by police have some sort of disability. Jesus Christ, like, like it almost leaves you speechless in a way to think the lack of training and the absolute brutal militarization of our police, how it's not even an investigative body anymore. It's more of just this secret Gestapo of just kitted up dudes with fucking ARs coming and just like taking people's lives that don't need to.
Just like domestic death squads.
Exactly.
Basically, what they are.
And it
is our foreign policy come back to haunt us.
Oh, 100%.
It's what we've done to people abroad, and it's now just sadly And it's look by this report, it's people that are the most vulnerable in our society
who still take like so much degradation and like
in general,
in general, even today with. I mean, we're still ultra conservative globally, but like as far as we've come to be more accepting in the United States, like still the amount of shit that we give people with disabilities is crazy, and like the lack of like education on like disabilities.
And that shows up because these people that are obviously lacking education, also known as the police, are going after people like that.
And then we also have this article from the Treatment Advocacy Center.
Yeah, pull that one up.
It's go ahead.
Give me 1 second. Okay, so the headline here: people with untreated mental illness 16 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement. I'm going to read from the article. People with untreated mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed during a police encounter than other civilians approached or stopped by law enforcement, according to a new study released today by Treatment Advocacy Center. Numbering fewer than 1 in 50 U.S. adults, individuals with untreated severe mental illness are involved in at least 1 in 4 and as many as half of all fatal police shootings, the study reports. Because of this
ties back into the one that we just did.
Exactly. Yeah, this is just furthering that same. Because of this prevalence, reducing encounters between on-duty law enforcement and individuals with the most severe psychiatric diseases may represent the single most immediate and practical strategy for reducing fatal police shootings in the United States. Something we had brought up pre to this too, though, is Carlos had mentioned inherent to this problem is the people they choose to police, and that's why this problem, maybe their solution that they're advocating here doesn't exactly work.
Exactly. when you bring this Gestapo like military force that is the police into these situations with people that have minor and or like very severe mental disabilities, and you get like these people have no training, they don't know how to.
Was saying that they make them take an IQ test, right?
I know. Yeah.
To be a cop, you have to go through some kind of qualification.
Yeah, some kind of test. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a local court case. I can't remember where exactly, but the court had ruled that it was okay for the police department to basically screen out people who scored too well
Right.
In terms of
I heard about that.
intelligence.
Right. So they're selecting people they can control. Yeah, right, yeah.
If they're too smart, they might catch on, man.
So, I mean, calling cops a dumbass is not, or dumbasses is not hyperbole in any sense. They literally mandate you to be a dumbass.
Yeah, if you're too smart, fuck out of here.
You're not a cop. Yeah.
Well, it's even worse than that because, well, they can keep up, the facade of, the police officer is the role model citizen. I mean,
right.
It's just like we said, the best people can all be applying to be cops, but if none of them get hired, then...
Yeah, then none of it matters.
And that also kind of just blows up that whole couple bad apples argument kind of thing. Like I don't know. That's always been a weird argument to me because, like, regardless,
obviously it's a systemic problem.
Yeah, video after video, study after study, article after article. It's not just a couple of bad people. It's just the entire system is rooted in just them abusing their power and kind of fucking normal people over.
Just stepping on people.
Exactly, because they have this fucking
stepping all over
ego trip, this power trip.
They think they're
above the law, quite literally.
Above the law, right?
I mean, most of the time it works out in their favor, so they literally are above the law. So,
to further harp on cops, let's pull up the Lumumba article.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. This is kind of jumping international.
International here.
So you can go ahead and read from this.
I'll read from this right now. Here we go. Patrice Lumumba's daughter. I'm demanding Belgium give back my father's remains. 60 years after his murder, Congolese Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba's body has never been recovered. But some of his teeth were kept as trophies by Belgian police. In an open letter, his daughter demands that the Belgian state return them to his homeland. Patrice Lumumba was the first prime minister of the Congo, now the not-so-democratic Republic of Congo, which he led to independence from Belgium, colonial rule in June 1960, which, let's not, underscore it, Belgium controlled the Congo for hundreds of years.
Brutally.
And did one of the first documented genocides. Killed millions of Congolese, eliminated different ethnic groups off the map.
Enslaved them, tortured them, maimed them, cut off hands to meet quotas.
Patrice Lumumba played a huge part in, decolonizing them and removing them from that colonial power, which is insane for obviously it takes a whole nation, but for one guy to be that much...
To be that influential.
Influence, yeah. I'm reading back to the article. Even as the Belgian state formally renounced direct political rule, it doggedly defended the dominance of European mining interests, which is nothing new. And it ties with other white minority-ruled African states. Even in its first weeks, Lumumba's left nationalist government faced a massive destabilization campaign, as a Belgian-backed secessionist movement launched an armed revolt in Katanga. Lumumba would be ultimately assassinated by the secessionists on January 17th, 1961, after an anti-communist, which really is just a colonist military coup. He had been turned over by the secessionists by Joseph Désiré Mobutu, a figure backed by both Belgium and the United States, who would rule the Congo as a murderous military dictator all the way up till 97.
Which is just another factor of how far our imperialism reaches.
Right.
Even though we're not directly involved, we'll support the fascists that want to take down these socialists that just want to exist. But we give them no chance in part due to like resource gain, in part due to keeping that stigma that socialism never works, communism never works.
Right.
Keeping capitalism as the global leader in economic systems, regardless of how effective it is, which it isn't effective at all. And it leaves many dying, even here in the wealthiest nation ever.
To finish off the article and to tie in the police part, obviously, at the time of Lumumba's murder, it was said that he had disappeared and his body was never recovered. Yet at least some of his remains do still exist, like the teeth that different police are keeping as trophies. The Belgian Workers' Party newspaper Solidaire explains, in 2001, amid a parliamentary inquiry into the Belgian state's role in the assassination, policeman Gerard Soete, who cares, chief inspector in secessionist Katanga, admitted to the press that after the killing, he had cut Lumumba's corpse into pieces before dissolving it into sulfuric acid, which is just, beyond
brutal, man. Like,
yeah.
It's almost hard to say things about it.
You pointed this out too. Obviously they did it on purpose. They can't let him be any kind of martyr.
If you use his body as a martyr, it just further empowers the movement itself. Right. So you can't, which from like an imperialist strategic point of view, it's very smart. But it's fucking brutal and disgusting.
Because they're not going to switch to decolonization. They're going to switch to that, really what we are now, where it's still a form of colonization, but it's just, we allow these different, groups, native groups within their country to control power, but really they're being, influenced by multinational corporations.
Exactly. You bring these indigenous groups back to power, but they're being funded by multinational corporations that say this, say that.
Right.
But
left movements are repressed.
Yeah, we'll give you all this money to do this and that, but you can't talk about this. You can't enact this.
Right.
And so on the topic of police being brutal, police being untrained, and overall just not qualified to be any sort of investigative body at this point in time, we have this video from the Rational National. He's a Canadian YouTuber, leftist, and he has this clip here about this man who was murdered with schizophrenia during a wellness check, and it's pretty insane. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll go ahead and shut up and watch this video.
Sounds like a very sick Onion article.
You're telling me a 62-year-old man, father of 4, is gonna get up, who can barely breathe to begin with, and run and attack you in his own home where he locked and he felt safe in?
Police in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, shot and killed a 62-year-old man with schizophrenia who was alone in his apartment because they say, quote, he was a danger to himself. A danger to himself, so they killed him. Now, this was during, of course, a wellness check. Another one of the many reasons why you need to defund the police and move many of these calls to other areas. Why are the police answering wellness checks when they're murdering the people that they're supposed to be there to help? It's completely insane. Now, the man killed, his name is Ijaz Ahmed Chowdhury. Let me first show you a CBC report on this that gives you kind of the context of what went on.
Friends, family, and community members have been rallying outside the scene here in Mississauga throughout the morning. We just heard from the family. They're calling for a public inquiry into the death of Ijaz Ahmed Chowdhury. They have a lot of questions. They say Chowdhury was harmless and he was not a threat and that this shouldn't have happened. Now, the SIU released 2 statements today saying officers were called to the scene here on Morningstar Drive around 5 last night to check on the well-being of a man. Officers say Chowdhury barricaded himself within his residence and that they had communication with him until around 8 p.m. when it stopped for 15 minutes. Police made the decision to enter, saying they believed he had access to weapons and was a danger to himself. The statement goes on to say that when police entered the unit, officers used a taser on the man and fired plastic bullets, and said when that had no effect, an officer shot a firearm and Chowdhury died on scene. Now, we
remember what they said, by the way. Taser, then plastic bullets, then gun. Keep that in mind.
Also suffered from other medical conditions.
Where does it make sense? Any normal person will say, no, it's not right. It's completely wrong. My uncle was harmless. He could barely take 3-4 steps. After his 3rd or 4th step, he'd have to sit down because he couldn't breathe. You're telling me a 62-year-old man, father of 4, is gonna get up, who can barely breathe to begin with, and run and attack you in his own home where he locked and he felt safe in? How does that make sense? You're saying, oh, there was a scene between the officers and Ijaz, my mom. It makes no sense.
The family also said last night they were pleading with police to allow one of the family members to speak with Chowdhury. They said that he doesn't speak English, that his condition makes him very paranoid, and that he's afraid of police. The family said that they had also dealt with this kind of situation before. They say he leaves behind a wife and 4 children, the youngest just 7 years old. Anyone with any information or witness video is being asked to contact the lead investigator of this case. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Mississauga.
Can we pause really quick?
All right.
What's very interesting there, that ties back to what we were just talking about. When you have police doing these wellness checks when funding goes towards that instead of mental health professionals going and doing these wellness checks. You get cases like this where people have a literal fear of the police. People who fear these kind of investigative bodies coming after them, arresting them, framing them for something they didn't do.
And rightfully so, to be afraid of them.
100%. But you have them you send these people to go do the jobs when they shouldn't be in the first place. But you also have people that have like literal fears of the same people coming to check on them.
Right.
And as the reporter just said, they've had encounters like this before where it's escalated and gotten very tense. And, you know, like we were looking at the study, half of people killed by police are disabilities.
Right.
You know, it kind of, like just what they were saying, it kind of only made sense as his time was running out. And sadly, he became part.
Murdered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sadly, he became part of the statistic. And the defunding the police and funding our mental health programs. I mean, this is in Canada, but still, I'm using us as an international sense. Funding our mental health programs and taking police away from these fucked up things, or from allowing them to do these fucked up things, I should say, is super important and needs to be one of our top priorities, I feel. And we can go ahead and get back into it if nobody's else.
But before we get back, Ian pointed this out, but remember the order they had said they had tased him, waited, shot him with plastic bullets, waited, and when that was not working, whatever, does that mean subduing him? Does that, then they shot him. So they're going to play the video of the incident, and you decide for yourself if that's actually what happened.
Yeah,
and a little bit of a trigger warning as well.
Yeah, trigger warning also.
There will be death in this video.
There is actually footage of this. So this was posted on Twitter by Ibrahim Hindi. He says here, "This is insane. This happened in Malton today, which is an area in Mississauga. The police were called because a man was suffering a mental health crisis. So what did the police do? They climbed a ladder, entered the apartment from the balcony, and opened fire on the man, shooting him multiple times." So let's watch this video. All right. Now, based on...
Yeah, to me, that looks like everything is in direct succession to the next thing.
And that's giving them even the credit that they used the taser and plastic bullets. It kind of seems like they just fucking blasted this guy. Like, almost immediately. Like, it's you hear, put the knife down after they kick open this guy's door. Nobody even knows if he had a knife.
Right.
And then
you can't see him in this video at all.
There's no body cameras, nothing. You have no idea what happened in that house. They kick open this dude's door after climbing a ladder onto his balcony.
Yeah, like just, fucking like SEAL Team 6 trying to take down Bin Laden or some shit.
And then fucking blast this dude.
And you also have to remember that these cops know that he is schizophrenic and he's also afraid of cops. So why
the family
would you
right.
Like you're just adding more to the flame. Like it's
we got to kill him before he kills himself.
See, we think he's a danger to himself, so therefore we have to break in and murder him. Because why would we let him kill himself? Let's let the state do it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean,
the state-sponsored terrorists, I should say.
The family literally told them like, can we talk to him? And they don't even want to seek a process of like mediation. They're just, well, obviously the easy thing is to go and kill him and no paperwork. Like,
exactly.
So yeah, do we want to continue doing the video, or do we want to stop?
We can stop here. I think we have nothing else to talk about right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, about 5 minutes. We're going to leave you with a song here by a local band called the Late Bloomers. We'll be right
all
back.
The bands are local that we're playing.
And all of our music that we play is local. If you're a local artist, if you know local artists,
hit us up.
Yes, hit us up at the
DM
Spoop Podcast on Twitter. DM us with links, and we'll get that situated. So we're gonna leave you here on a quick break. Thank you for everybody who's here, and we'll be right back. Yeah, be back. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, is everybody here? We ready?
Hello.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
We back.
Hope everybody stayed. Hope everybody enjoyed that song. Again, that's the Late Bloomers. The song was called Don't You Mind. Go check him out on their Instagram. I believe it's just Late Bloomers, late_bloomers.
That's actually the first time I heard that one. It was good.
Yeah. Local indie band here. So we'll give everybody a second to make sure they can come back if they went to go get water or something.
Right.
Give it a second here. Let me just pull up this link.
My mic's been muted this entire time.
Yeah?
I was like trying to talk and I was like, what's going on here?
Wait, who are you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
Who are you?
If everybody's ready, we can get started. First thing we're going to... So, quick little itinerary. We're going to take this to our border. We're going to jump straight into international politics after we cover this quick New York Times article. So if you want to go ahead and pull this up on screen, we can get started. It is a New York Times article, and I think the relevancy of this is important during our pandemic because we have with people who are still working right now, we have this title called essential worker. And before the pandemic, before anything, farmers are our essential worker. They don't stop ever. They keep going. They'll travel everywhere, and they feed everybody. They feed our CEOs, those people that for some reason we praise. They feed our janitors. They feed our dishwashers. They feed the line cook doomers. You know, without them, we are nothing in a way. And so to give them this false title of essential worker when we don't even give them the title of a real worker, we don't give them citizenship, we don't pay them right.
Rights.
We give them nothing but scraps, and we have and it's fucked up. So we will take it right here at. Let me find it really quick. Right here. So as a lot of people who are still working right now know, we were given these letters towards the beginning of the pandemic that basically allow us to stay out past the curfew, our essential worker letters. And so I think it's very hypocritical that we would give undocumented farm workers these letters that are basically like, oh, they can be out past curfew, etc., because they're essential workers. But also they can still be deported. That letter is pretty much just a formality.
The right to be exploited, more
exactly.
or less.
All that letter says is, they're working. That isn't like, but these people can still be deported. They're still being exploited. They're not getting any type of hazard pay. They're getting no benefits. They're making sense. They're making a couple bucks. Like they're making nothing. And to try to survive.
Yeah.
Exactly. And trying to survive in a pandemic. People who have real jobs are barely making. It's like, no, I mean that is a real job. That's one of the most important jobs. But I mean,
but real as in
what we talk about when we're talking about like contemporary United States and work and whatnot. So, in the article, I believe it is towards the. Let me find it. I can't. Oh, towards the bottom here, it brings it here to Ventura County, and it talks about farm work labor with like our strawberries and lemons and stuff. And I kind of just want to touch on quickly. I think it's super important here in our locality, like here in the county, to push for not only like a path to citizenship, but to push for workers' rights and the right to unionize here in our locality, and most importantly. We got to stand up.
Especially now with this pandemic.
Exactly,
happening.
We got to stand up for our farm workers, who not only feed us but fuel our local economy.
They're members of our community.
Exactly. Without the taxes they put in, without the hard work they do to
their kids go to school here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do so much to fuel Oxnard's exporting of our fruit, and they do so much for us, and to not even give them the decency to exist normally in our society with all the full benefits is pretty insane to me.
Yeah, honestly, they just deserve a lot more.
They deserve
way more. Yeah.
Way
any
more.
dude, any I don't want to say dude. That's
Very hard working.
Any person that's working in the farms right now is working way harder and will probably work harder than I ever will ever.
Yeah.
Those dudes bust their ass day in, day out, get up at absurd hours, work absurd hours for scraps.
Right. They're not unskilled too. The myth that they're unskilled workers too. I mean, if you ever see these videos of people out there picking radishes or strawberries or tomatoes, like the speeds they do it at, because
they do it all
paid by the carton.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's insane.
They can do it all, man. And
their hours as well, dude.
Yeah, their hours are crazy. Yeah, and some of them will even like. I had someone I worked with. He would work here at Red Lobster, and then he would go all the way to Salinas and do stuff and work in the field. So I'm sure there's people that work in our fields here, and then they're like, "Hey, I need more money, so I'm gonna go work at this field."
Yeah, let's go up north, go down south.
A lot of them they don't live like very locally.
Right.
Some of them live very far, and they have to travel.
And because our housing market is so just implosive, they're living in these small spaces with multiple people.
Right, which in a pandemic is crazy. If you're moving around the state, you're living in small areas, you're working all the time next to other people.
It's a recipe for spreading, and we're giving them no support.
No.
And so I want to move the conversation on, keep it going, stay on pace here. Jacan's gonna take over. We're gonna go more into Central America. Central and South. We're gonna hop into talking about Ecuador. Go ahead and
actually, can we bring up the Ecuador tweet first, Carl? This one will be quick. The Bolivia one's a little longer. Obviously.
Yeah. Where is it?
It should be it's in the sheets. It's right after the farm worker article.
Yeah, you should see Ecuador. It's gonna be a really quick thing. We bring up, and then we're gonna hop into talking about Bolivia and the absolute insanity that's happening there currently.
Yeah,
and has been happening.
This is actually good news here.
This one?
Go ahead and that one. Thank you. I'll go ahead and read it right now. Breaking news. This is a couple days ago. Breaking news: following the Prague International letter condemning the collapse of democracy in Ecuador. The electoral authorities have reversed their decision to refuse registration of Compromiso RC5, the political party led by PI council member Mashi Rafael. And that's big because they weren't going to allow this party to even register as a leftist working party. And now they actually have the ability, in this worldwide economic collapse, their party is going to appeal to people in Ecuador.
And not only appeal to people in Ecuador, but you got to think. Yeah, and you got to think neighboring countries, when they see this strong focus on worker leftist party, it's gonna speak volumes to them and can even inspire other countries.
Like Bolivia, right?
Exactly.
Let's bring that one up.
So let's go ahead and
the Gray Zone article.
You can go ahead and take this one too.
Okay, so just pulled up the headline here. A dispatch from Bolivia shows the staggering human toll of the military coup, which was our U.S.-backed military coup, our coup that took over Evo Morales and sent him into Mexico in exile. As an incompetent U.S.-backed regime leaves impoverished citizens to die amid a pandemic. In Cuba, meanwhile, country we demonize all the time, the country's socialized system has saved its population from the worst of COVID-19. Going into the article, as Latin America becomes the new focal point for the devastating spread of COVID-19, the biggest one being Brazil and their joke of a president, Cuba stands virtually alone in having saved its population from the dramatic health and societal collapse seen across most of the region. At the other extreme is Bolivia, where the coup regime that's now in place is using the trauma of mass graves and corpses in the street, which they had caused recently because of the coup, the fruits of its own inaction, as an excuse to ban elections. they're going to delay their own incompetency with COVID-19 has given them an excuse to ban this already, this coup that's already happened. A close look at the divergent results of the two countries gives an insight into how two opposing ideological models have shaped the situation that Cuba and Bolivia find themselves in today. The two countries have roughly the same population of about 11 million and were among the last in the region to see their first imported cases. COVID-19 arrived in Bolivia on March 10th. It hit Cuba the following day. The similarities end there. At the time of this article is written, Cuba has yet to see a single medical professional or child die from the virus. Think about that. A single medical professional or child. That's it. And it's a fucking island.
It's a small island, and looking at our numbers is just insane.
Not only an island country, but a country that we've had, sanctions on for God knows how long. And
it's also tried to coup multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, we almost started World War III just because we wanted to coup them.
And the bounce back of leftist-led countries is just truly incredible, in my opinion.
Back to it, though. Meanwhile, Bolivia has 1,825 cases of COVID-19 just in the last 24 hours, adding to a staggering national total of 68,281 infections. Cuba has suffered 87 deaths from the virus, while Bolivia has suffered a whopping 2,535 deaths. We can stop there for now, but obviously the article goes on to talk about... obviously the thing that's different here is socialized medicine. The recent government in Bolivia was moving towards something that was more socialist, and it was an indigenous, democratically voted president, Evo Morales, and we overthrew him and put in a Christian fascist that, is now killing the people and price gouging the shit out of them. And Cuba, who we demonize all the time, they have a socialist healthcare system, and they're not only kicking everybody's ass, they're sending doctors to other countries to help them.
And what's interesting with Bolivia specifically, Cuba has had a presence in Bolivia for quite some time.
Right.
Giving them free healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah, international doctor aid.
Yeah,
Cuba is the same thing in Brazil, too.
Cuba is able to not only handle their shit, but go to other countries and help them with their shit.
And they're an island nation.
That has been just absolutely fucked on by us. The biggest military power in a long time.
They're so much better that they were originally there in Brazil, and their clown fascist president Jair Bolsonaro, Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro. He got he removed them from the country. He was like, I don't want them. I don't want these socialist doctors in my country.
We don't need them.
And then COVID-19 hits, and he's like, can we please have those socialist doctors back?
Dude, he's just running back.
You just please come back. Because one of the first, obviously Italy was one of the first places, Italy and Spain were some of the first European countries to get bodied. And immediately, Cuba sent doctors there. Immediately. They're
like, oh shit,
this is anything near that.
Fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
The most we send is Red Cross military aid.
Which is really just guys for a coup.
Yeah, literally in the form of a coup, but
right. But yeah, keep Bolivia in mind because they are still fighting to have the indigenous, the majority of the population, to get back into democratic power.
Which they were working towards until the U.S. backed military coup, which put in power a Christian fascist.
Which that coup, obviously, the thing they were going after is they want that sweet lithium
that fuels Tesla.
Anyone that stands Elon Musk can suck a fat dick, because Elon Musk is not only his dad was involved in apartheid, but look at this, he's his interests are overthrowing fucking democratically elected indigenous people. So
and jokes about it.
Yeah, he jokes about it on Twitter. So, but that's our era. So
yeah, just meme everything.
But
so
keeping with COVID though, let's move on.
Yeah, let's hop into kind of it's a satirical. It's funny. Just Trump being completely oblivious to the
this is in
severity of
late
this
March.
Yeah,
a video from late March. We'll watch the whole. Maybe not the whole thing through. We might pause a couple times. So,
but yeah, go ahead and let's get this started.
I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks, but this is going to be a very painful...
Only 2 weeks, boys.
Very, very painful 2 weeks.
Dr. Fauci, should Americans be prepared for the likelihood that there will be 100,000 Americans who die from this virus?
From Beta, he's leaning in. Look at him.
Yeah. The answer is yes. We need,
look at Alpha Fauci over here standing completely
we should
straight.
be prepared for it. 100 to 200,000. Anything, it's a lot of people, right? It's a lot of people. The question is, what would have happened if we did nothing? Because there was a group that said, let's just write it out. Let's write it out. What would have happened?
Who's that group? You?
And that number comes in at 1.5
Isn't that literally
to
what we're doing?
1.6
Just writing it
people,
out.
Up to 2.2
Yeah,
and
you're
even
administrating.
beyond.
Yeah.
So that's 2.2 million people would have died if we did nothing. We just carried on our life.
This may be an uncomfortable question, but what would the models have looked like that Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci showed us if we had started these social distancing guidelines sooner, in February or January?
If there was no virus in the background, there was nothing to mitigate. If there was virus there that we didn't know about, then the answer to your question
says millions like Dr.
yes.
Evil.
Now, the only trouble with that is that whenever you come out and say something like that, it always becomes almost a soundbite
They
that
knew
gets
that
taken
this
out
virus
of
was going to
context.
escalate.
But we were watching South
exactly.
Korea,
They don't care.
China, and Italy.
Yeah.
They're in their
and we
ivory
weren't
towers.
taking action when those countries were spiking.
In a perfect world, it would have been nice to know what was going on there.
Is there any fairness to the criticism that you may have lulled Americans into a false sense of security when you were saying things like it's going to go away and that sort of thing? But
Jim, it's going away.
But when you were saying
It's going to go away, hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, hopefully we'll be soon after that. I want to be positive. I don't want to...
The end of the month.
I want to be positive. What are you gonna? We gotta be positive.
Abby, believe me.
Why are you such a Debbie Downer? It's only 200,000 people.
Really quick, before we get back into this, I want to kind of debunk something that was very popular at this time in the pandemic. It was talking about how China is not only the main spreader globally, but specifically to the U.S. That was very quickly debunked, especially once it hit Europe. Europe took over China very early on in spread cases, specifically to the U.S., and Europe was the main spreader to the U.S. population.
That's how they think it got to New York.
But
pretty sure.
But just thinking back to when that was, all you heard in media cycles from Trump specifically was the China virus, the Kung flu, the evil, the invisible enemy. It's coming from China, evil China.
The China plague.
I don't really like Kung flu though, because it makes the virus sound kind of tasty. So I don't know about that.
Makes the virus sound kind of sick too.
Can we rewind back to this question that he was just asked? Because I just want to hear him just the way he made it. We got to be positive. It's going to be over in a month. Keep in mind, this is like 4 months ago.
He's like, if we have the good vibes, the virus can't touch us. It's all about the vibes.
Right. Number the thing we should have capped out at. And it's definitely not over. So
nowhere near. From what I've seen recently, projected if we keep on our common path, we're still about a year out, and that's if we get that's if we get a vaccine by the new year. So at least until the end of 2021, we're going to be dealing with this, and it's probably going to become something like the common cold, because there's a large population of the United States that are anti-vaxxers. I don't want this vaccine in my kids. It's gonna give them autism and what? It's like
maybe Jim Sterry has a point.
We're gonna have to. This is something, regardless of when the vaccine comes out, this is something we're gonna have to deal with year in and year out, almost as we do the flu. People are going to continue to die from COVID until all the anti-vaxxers are taken care of, until they Darwin themselves out of existence.
Anti-vaxxers are like, I don't really like using condoms. I feel like they not only prevent births, they make them, autistic. They get damaged in the rubber, and then the future semens are downgraded. Let's let's go for what you say.
No, it's okay. Let's go.
The fiction.
I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative.
Can we rewind it, Carlos, back to the question the last question he had asked him?
Where was that?
About
it
there,
would have
yeah.
been nice to know what was going
His
on.
hand movement.
Is there any fairness to the criticism that you may have lulled Americans into a false sense of security when you were saying things like it's going to go away?
Well, it is.
And that sort of thing. But
Tim,
it's
going to go away. Hopefully at the end of the month, and if not, it hopefully will be soon after that. I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. I'm a positive person.
Hell yeah.
Said, I wish it'd be more negative.
Iranian generals, I killed them. I'm a positive person.
Wonderful newspapers today. I wish it'd be more negative. Well, this is really easy to be negative about. But I want to give people hope, too. You know, I'm a cheerleader for the country. We're going through the worst thing that the country's probably ever seen. Don't forget, at that time, people didn't know that much about it. Even the experts. We were talking about it. We didn't know where it was going.
We didn't know anything.
We saw China, but that was it. Maybe it
I still know nothing, but
we wish we could have killed it in China. But it didn't happen. It started spreading to Europe. It started spreading here. It started spreading all over.
We should have just Beirut'd China, obviously. Yeah.
If we just bombed China,
no more would happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably a John Bolton quote. Like, he was probably in the war room like, listen, I think if we bomb China, it will all go away.
That's what made him and Trump break up, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna write a book about you.
Yeah. I'm going to write this strongly worded letter because I'm a Karen. I'm a snowflake conservative.
I'm going to wax my mustache and think of you in the morning, Trump, to get back at you.
And let's move it on here. Keeping on topic with COVID and coronavirus. A popular topic right now is mail-in voting. So we have one part to a two-part video that we're going to watch here, the Trump AXIOS, if you want to bring that up, Carlos. Right. And a quick thing, it's popular rhetoric among right-wing circles right now is mail-in ballots. People love to vote so much that they're gonna go around vote like fraudulently voting, and I'm a
double vote.
Yeah, it's funny to me that in a country with about half of our population votes, that people would be so fucking horny to go out to the polls and to take dead relatives' credentials just so they can vote again. And it's hilarious rhetoric to me. And I on my end,
it's obviously that right wing bullshit where they pretend they care about voter suppression. But
yeah,
the reality is they are the biggest repressors of votes.
And then really quick, I'm going to read from my own little article I have from Reuters, and it brings up that when the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank,
the one that created Obamacare,
exactly, they created the ACA, which was originally going to be
Mitt Romney.
So yeah, the Heritage Foundation,
horrible. Yeah,
they did a study back in where I believe it was, it doesn't say the year here, I'm sorry, but they went to Oregon and they did a study to see or to assess the risk and issues of mail-in voting. And out of roughly 15.5 million ballots cast, they found 14 which they called attempted mail fraud. So 14 out of almost 15.5 million.
And I imagine even the Heritage Foundation is a broad term for attempted fraudulent voting.
Exactly.
He didn't put his middle name.
He didn't. They didn't signature in the right place. There was no initial. They didn't double stamp.
Yeah.
And so, just looking at that, and we're getting this from a conservative think tank. If they even come to the assumption and the answer that it's not an issue. This whole narrative that we can't do mail-in voting come November time because the dangers of fraudulent voting, especially when it's going to be such a tight race, it's truly foolish. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. We can go ahead and get into the Axios part where he talks about it, and we can do our little spiel. So go ahead and press play, and let's get into it.
Later, it started going up. That's a month later. But Tulsa was a very good. Oklahoma was doing very well as a state. It was almost free. It spiked a month later, month and a half, 2 months later, but it was a good area. We had a tremendous crowd. We had tremendous response. You couldn't even, it was like an armed camp.
He does one adjective.
You couldn't get anybody in. But we had 12,000 people. It was incorrectly reported. The other thing we had that nobody wants to talk about, so Fox broadcast it. It was the highest rating in the history of Fox television.
In case you didn't know.
It was the highest rating.
Mr. President.
My speech, well, wait a minute, you're saying something.
Yeah.
That speech was the highest rated speech in the history of Fox Television on Saturday night. And nobody says that.
I think you misunderstand me. I'm not criticizing your ability to draw a crowd. Are you kidding me? I've covered you for 5 years. You draw massive crowds, you get huge ratings. I'm asking about...
AXIOS, by the way, is super conservative.
Right. Have a good crowd in New Hampshire, and I canceled it for the same reason.
But here's the question. I've covered you for a long time. I've gone to your rallies. I've talked to your people. They love you. They listen to you. They listen to every word you say. They hang on your every word. They don't listen to me or the media or Fauci. They think we're fake news. They want to get their advice from you.
Funniest dude in
America. When they hear you say everything's under control, don't worry about wearing masks. I mean,
Trump's definitely whooping this guy's ass.
Yeah. Under the
it's giving them a false sense of security.
Now, I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans dying.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. But that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can.
He's trying so hard to defend himself.
It is what it is. I'm being positive. Trump's like, I'm integrating Zen Buddhism into my philosophy. It is what it is.
See, we're doing everything. We say we're doing everything, but we're quite literally doing nothing.
Everything's a flat circle, including everyone dying from COVID-19.
It's.
He's like, I'm positive. Like, I didn't rape those girls on Epstein's plane. Be positive about this.
What's the Lolita Express? I don't even know what that is. What is the Lolita Express?
I had sexual relations with them. You know, Bill Clinton, huge. God.
I don't know how you can't laugh at what comes up.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Let's pause really quick again. I just want to bring this up. The issue I have with liberals is they can't see past Trump being a fucking dumbass. They just kind of just stop there and like, Trump tweets mean things, therefore I hate him. You can't follow him, therefore you support him. It's like, understand that this guy's just such a fucking idiot, and it's kind of a joke on our part that he even got anywhere near political power. And you have to laugh. Like, if you don't laugh, you go crazy. Like, this guy's an idiot.
Well, like you're saying, the people that don't laugh never criticize him on the right thing.
Exactly. They criticize him on, like, he tweets mean
tweets. Yeah.
His mean tweets, and he's not like any other president, but they also, like, stan Nancy Pelosi, who ripped up his fucking speech, but then a couple of days later gave him a shit ton of money for his military budget.
Yeah, past like $700 billion plus budget.
They don't like the aesthetic of Trump, but since they love establishment Democrats, they pretty much agree with Trump on most things. It's purely aesthetic with these people, and I think it's really important. Getting into politics and then being established in politics is being able to separate yourself from the individual and just
go straight to the policy.
Yeah, like, the most important thing with anybody is policy, and
then you can consider the cult of personality.
Exactly.
Because Trump obviously has like no policy that runs through his brain.
Whatever comes to his desk, he's like, man.
Yeah, it just fills his void.
He's the shell of the GOP.
Yeah, that's why he's their bitch for everything they've already done.
Exactly.
Before.
And what you look at is just like himself. Once you've separated him from the policy, he's just this old ass orange Cheeto dude that is a fucking idiot. Knows like 3 adjectives
his whole life. Yeah.
Exactly. Grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Everything
the only things he knows exactly. He only knows how to say huge, tremendous, believe me. That's like his like. You gotta sit back and laugh sometimes, man.
And he's the first president to post memes.
Exactly. Oh my, his
memes
are fire. And he
might be funny, but the last couple interviews I've seen with Biden might take the crown soon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because those, come on, man.
Malarkey, Jack. Eating seed corn.
Jack.
Jack.
You know, my son Bo died from. What did he die from? Come on, Come on,
my
man.
husband, my wife, my sister.
Yeah. Have you met Hunter, my son that smokes crack?
You gotta look at these two senile old men and kind of just laugh, or you just sit there. Or you sit there bitter, and then you're bitter at the world, and then you give up. You're right back to square one about not caring about electoral politics, not caring about what's going on. But yeah,
go back to the video.
I think we should stop this video and let's start talking about state elections. Let's bring up that. Yeah. Let's bring up that Ed Markey thing. If you want to go ahead and talk about that, Jake, and you want to take the control.
Yeah, before you play it, I'll do a little. Give you a little info on these two guys. Ed Markey is the one that wrote the bill for the Green New Deal. He's pretty good. I would call him. We said this earlier, but he's like a diet light Crystal Pepsi Bernie. He even has the mannerisms of Bernie Sanders. He has the voice.
Imitates him.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely fucking not the worst by any means.
No.
But in this debate, he's the incumbent, and he's running against him is Congressman Joe Kennedy of the Kennedy family. He's the grandnephew of JFK.
And I don't know who gets bullied worse here, dude. I don't know if Joe Kennedy gets bullied worse.
Yeah.
Or when Big Kennedy got his fucking head blown off.
At some point we don't have it here, but and we don't really need to bring it up, but at some point in the video he does kind of quip on that. He's like, "Oh, Ed Markey's supporters bully me online. Like I'm one of the most bullied politicians." And it's like, bro, your granduncle literally got his face blown off in the motorcade.
And you're sitting here pissing your pants over fucking Markey bros on Twitter.
Crystal Pepsi Bernie. Yeah. Like, give me a break. But let's roll the clip and just watch him get shit on because he's so robotic. It's disgusting.
Keep in mind how on policy Markey stays while also coming across as a human being. He's not this empty suit that it's just like we need to build coalitions and unity.
Because that's what Kennedy's going to say. It's going to be platitudes that sound right, but none of he's not going to say it.
It's those feel good things that make you feel like he's a good guy when in reality he's going to go in and not change anything. And the people that voted for him are going to be like, oh, nothing's changed, even though I voted for this guy that said really nice and heartwarming things. But yeah.
And prior to this point we have in the video, his whole argument is, well, I'm the new fresh blood of this Democratic. I'm the new, I'm progressive. I'm young, I'm progressive. He's been in Congress or as a politician for like 8 to 10 years or something. So, and Markey will point out this is ridiculous.
Jobs that are going to give the opportunities to this current generation of young people to move out and to deploy that energy system that is going to save the planet and at the same time create those millions of new jobs for them to be able to work.
Thank you, Mr. Markey. Mr. Kennedy?
One, we need to make sure that we have debt-free college in this country. We need to make sure that college, I've signed onto legislation to ensure that we wipe out student debt for 95% of all borrowers.
95%.
Not all of you.
For folks that can afford it, that other taxpayers should be paying for my kids' education. But understand that here's where I think what Senator Markey said is actually quite important. Our government at this point is putting the burden of an education on the backs of students to get a middle-class job for the first time in our history. And he's right about one thing. The deck is stacked more against students today than it ever has been before. So if that's the case, can we possibly say that folks that have been in office for—
How can you say you're only going to cut 95% of student debt?
We're not addressing this.
Can we pause that really quick? I have something to bring up. So what he said there, the 95 thing, it just ties into that whole Buttigieg aesthetic of, oh, I'm for the poor people. So what we're going to do is not eliminate student debt for all these rich people, because why would we wipe out their debt too? But
well, clearly his 95 number, as soon as he gets into office or has any power, maybe it's more like 85.
Yeah,
that's more realistic.
Not saying 100% gives him the slack to be like, oh, well, I wanted to do that, but now looking at our current economy and how feasible it is, we have to drop that down to 75%. And also, if you didn't go to school, if you're not currently enrolled in school, you also don't apply for it.
It's the same logic that's got us this, shitty half measures for healthcare. It's like, we can't do that, so we'll do this. And it always gets, if you don't start with the biggest thing, it always gets whittled down.
Exactly. Incrementalism when it comes to systems in our
never works.
in our country that are so important, like our healthcare system and our education system. When you try this incrementalist format, it never works out because you have opposition from the conservatives, which are just like, oh, go fuck
and your
yourself.
own party.
And
too.
your own party, exactly. When you have these blue dog Republican Democrats basically saying, well, I'm going to side with Republicans here, even though I'm going to sit here and say platitudes about how, oh, I support gay marriage, but you know, I don't want that gay married couple to go to school,
have healthcare,
or have healthcare. It's like, oh, so you just want them
don't.
to be, you want them to live in shit like the rest of us.
Right. Yeah, they can be equally exploited.
Exactly. The Democrats want equal exploitation, and then Republicans, they just want they just want hell to break loose. Exactly. Yeah. They just want to live in a white ethno state.
Yeah, where you can fuck dogs
for free. That's what they want. Universal dogs.
Yeah, universal dog asshole.
All right, we can get back into the clip.
We're now putting on a younger generation to address these challenges, and obviously the cost of college and higher education is one of them. But if you talk to leaders of higher education, like the chancellor, they'll also tell you, particularly for this generation in this moment, the need for access to mental behavioral health care, which has been one of my area of core focus since I got to Congress. And it's where we've been
so nervous.
Working with colleges and universities to try to actually scale up and
very calculated in what he's trying to say.
Access to mental health
in the worst way.
Our students.
All right, I want to do a rapid fire
section
now.
Right there. He wanted to say maternal care, but he's like, wait, I don't actually support maternal care.
Can we pause it, Carlos? Can we go to the 10-minute mark that we had marked originally? Yeah, that should have been at 9:55. Let's start it there.
Yeah, 9:55.
Yeah, that way we can see Diet Sanders shit on him real quick. Go ahead and put that.
Come down as a boot on the neck of communities of color. Those are not an accident. They were deliberate, they were intentional, and they came in by choice. And you might be known for some things in your time in office, Senator. Racial justice and criminal justice is not one of them.
All right. Oh, let me just go. I have to answer that. I have to answer that. Look, Congressman Kennedy had a chance to sign on to Medicare for All when it was introduced. I stood with Bernie Sanders to fight for health care for everyone.
Healthcare.
Congressman Kennedy, 2 years to sign on to Medicare for All. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy decided he was going to work for a right-wing Republican district attorney. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy decided that he was going to vote to send military weapons to the local police in our country. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy had a chance when he gave the State of the Union response to Donald Trump to talk about climate change. Congressman Kennedy did not mention the word climate change in his response. Congressman Kennedy is a progressive in name only. When he gets a chance to lead on Medicare for All, on climate change, on the militarization of the streets of this country, he was not a progressive leader. And when he had to make a decision as to who he was going to work for as a lawyer, he decided to work as a lawyer for a right-wing Republican. That is not the kind of progressive leadership which our country needs desperately right now.
Let me wrap up the criminal justice section of
Look at
this conversation.
Just no idea what to do, and then he just gives
the letters in his brain are all, put the smile on.
Desperately right now.
Let me wrap up.
Okay, so besides that absolute shitting on and that Bernie Sanders-esque diatribe that he went on, just absolutely tearing into him, what's important is he stayed on policy and he called him out for his bullshit.
Right.
And this is a common argument that, like how Joe Kennedy brought it up, that nothing is, like, he didn't talk about, like, racial justice policy. Is healthcare for all not racial justice?
Right.
Is the Green New Deal, which ensures a better future for everybody, not racial justice? Is
fracking in our communities.
Exactly. Is fighting to make sure everybody gets a decent living wage, not racial justice, just because it doesn't have a racial stamp on it, because it doesn't say this
for
will help
his
black
kind of
people,
politics.
this will
For
help
Joe
Asian
Kennedy,
people.
it isn't. That's how he thinks.
Exactly. He's kind of
like, I'm only there for the name to do this thing.
He's still this 90s-esque politician that focuses on the big fancy words that make people smile rather than what's actually gonna help the working class materially speaking. And I think that's an important thing to pick up, not even just talking about the Democratic Party, but all politics, not only in the United States, but everywhere. Just looking at their aesthetic versus what they openly support, what they talk about supporting, when they support it. Like, Bernie Sanders was an advocate of Medicare for all for literally ever. And it was not popular until he ran in 2016 and brought it to the forefront of mainstream American politics. And now you have literally in every state, every exit poll from the primaries that went on, everybody supports Medicare for all. Everybody realizes the flaws in our current healthcare system, which is a rapacious mafia-like system that has this unnecessary middleman that fucks you in the ass and robs you. And most of the time won't even pay you out when something goes down because of things like pre-existing conditions. And it's
out-of-network doctor.
Exactly. The doctor that you want is out of network, so you can't go to him anymore. Oh, this medicine that is cheap and generic, out of network, you gotta get the super expensive.
Or it's $800. Yeah.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe she didn't walk out of this debate and just commit suicide in a motorcade.
I would have walked out right there if I was cuck ass Joe Kennedy and Markey just absolutely sent me to space like that.
Yeah,
I'd have to walk out. Have a little bit of fucking decency, man.
No shit. I mean, the only thing I'm always gonna comment on ties. Markey definitely lost the tie battle here.
Oh yeah,
I like the color, but it's a little off.
Tie game was weak. The drip was kind of lacking, but he stayed on policy. So
he won. Yeah.
So let's move it on here. Still talking about state politics. I want to bring up the awesome wins for the progressive left in Rashida Tlaib and Cori. Cori Bush. I almost said Cory Booker. Rashida Tlaib won a very important re-election, just furthering the message that true leftists, or at least
for her primary, for
her primary. She didn't win the actual election, but the primary. It's important that progressives stay winning their primaries. Right. It's important that she won because it continues the fact that when you talk about the issues that the American people care about, when you talk to them from a perspective of empathy rather than pull yourself up by your bootstraps, when you tell them, we want to guarantee you a decent shot at life. We want to make sure that if you get sick, you're not going to die. We want to make sure you have somewhere to sleep at night. We want to make sure that the job that you work pays you enough to where you don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs, where your family doesn't starve. And I think that speaks not only to places like California and all across, but especially in impoverished states that have been completely ruined by fucked up trade deals like the Rust Belt. And I think it's super important because she won in Michigan, which is just Motor City.
Has been bodied, yeah.
Just been destroyed by trade deals. Bipartisan led, of course, because the only time we come together in American politics is to fuck over the working class. But she won in Michigan. She won by a huge margin. It
was funny to see people.
Oh yeah, people were trying to call it early.
I can't wait till she loses.
She almost 40,000 votes more than her opponent Brenda Jones.
Yeah, it was like 30% to like 60% of the vote.
Brenda Jones got 36,000 votes. Rashida Tlaib got 71,000 votes. Absolutely mopped her in this primary, and she's going out to take on some fucking random no-name conservative. So, she won last time. She's probably gonna win again.
Well, her type of politics should.
Oh yeah, her type of
the challenge is the Democrats.
Yeah, and that's with all leftists.
Really everyone we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, and then next I want to get into Cori Bush, which took out incumbent William Lacy Clay.
10-term incumbent.
10-term incumbent, who also has empire-like family ties in politics.
Right. We should bring up those pictures if you have them.
Yeah, if he can find them. But really quick, I want to keep talking about this.
Yeah.
So he's a 10-term incumbent, and Cori Bush, one of the first people to be signed on to the Justice Democrats, which is a social.
And she was the first.
Yeah, is she the first? I think
she is the first.
And yeah, she is a long time in progressive and left circles, and so to see her finally win is incredible. She took out an incumbent. She's a true progressive. She wants things like Medicare for all. She wants to fix our taxation system and take it away from being regressive to progressive, putting the money back in our hands, etc., etc. I can go on all day about this stuff.
Well, even on the identity politics side too,
she's the first.
I think she's the first Black congresswoman in her state.
Yes, and on top of that, being a Black woman, like that's awesome.
Right.
She's doing historic feats in that aspect, and also being a very, very progressive left politician in fucking Missouri.
Right.
So all shouts out to Rashida Tlaib, all shouts out to Cori Bush. And then I believe you're going to bring up Ilhan Omar, correct?
Yeah. Do we have those pictures for Cori Bush? Can we bring those up? Because this was something that's important for... Yeah, this one is funny too.
Oh, yeah. This is
just to show the kind of backing that Clay had. Kamala Harris.
You want to go ahead and take off our cameras so the people can see? But for those who are just listening... Senator Kamala Harris, Cop Mala, Tupac and weed, still
who might be VP too. We don't know yet.
Who is very likely she could be VP. The chick that arrested moms for their truant children, Cop Mala Harris, endorses Clay.
Just to see him lose.
Yeah. She did this big endorsement, made a big deal out of it, just for him to get fucking mopped by our queen progressive. Miss Cori Bush, who got in 2016, or was it 2016? Last statewide election, she was getting just absolutely slammed by Fox News in the media circles because she had this clip where she froze up when she was asked a question about taxation, and she stuttered, and she definitely fumbled the bag there, but
they went after her.
They went after her on everything, and it was like, I believe it was like 2 news cycles of just talking about that bullshit.
And she's, a Black Lives Matter protester, first Justice Dan. Obviously, hasn't done this her whole life like some of these fucking dweebs.
No, yeah, she comes from a working background, and to see her win this is huge for the progressive left everywhere, and especially the ones who are running.
Can we pull up the pictures of the pamphlet, Carlos?
Here's the first one.
So I wanted to bring this one in because it ties in with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib too, because they're all trying to tie in the this whole BDS thing. Another comment I saw on this pamphlet that the Lacy Clay campaign had handed these out apparently. Look how much darker she is.
Yeah,
like how they black grayed her out, and because and look at the light portrayal of him in comparison.
Yeah, they give this great photo where he's in the light. He's on a white paper.
Yeah,
which like has the essence of good.
She's blacked out. She has, a Muslim next to her, Linda Sarsour next to her.
Keep in mind this is Missouri, so
right.
Just think of all these red flags and signals that are being sent to backwards ass fucking Missourians.
Right.
Yeah, and it goes on. And they go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing they're trying to pin her for is Cori Bush stands with boycott, divestment, and sanctions of Israel. Which, if you don't know what that is advocating for us to stop giving money, different kinds of aid, military weapons to the state of Israel to commit, active genocide on the Palestinian people.
BS is. Stopping full U.S. support, which we give like a shit ton of money, I believe.
In a way, Israel only exists because of our aid.
Oh, exactly. And basically, BDS is ending the apartheid-like system that is happening with Israel and Palestine, and the complete lack of human rights that is given to the Palestinian people, or like that is not given to the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
And it's obviously smeared by huge groups like AIPAC and any right wing meme that wants to say, "I stand with the state of Israel. I can't be anti-Semitic." And it's just it's like a meme. I use the term meme. Not
here's
in
here's the other. I think the front of the pamphlet, how it opens up. So they're trying to nail. It's such a weird thing to try to nail her on, though. this anti-Israel agenda in the middle of Missouri.
Yeah.
Like, but it makes more sense because let's move on to Ilhan Omar. That's been what they've gone after her the whole time because she was really one of the first people to speak out against the state of Israel, and they've slandered her nonstop since that. And she has her primary coming up on the 11th of August,
I believe.
And her Democratic opponent is Anton Melton-Moe. I don't know how to say it. It looks like French Canadian or something. But he has raised more money than Omar, $3.2 million, and 500,000 of those dollars come from 2 pro-Israel super PACs. So you can already see them lining up to make the same argument. Obviously, she's anti-Semitic against Israelis. This is the guy we got to get in, right?
And another thing to point out is very important in that brochure or the pamphlet. On Lacy Clay's side, they very specifically point out his support for the legislation that came out to basically allow businesses only on the basis of if somebody supports BES to deny them contracts, etc. So that's just anti-free speech, anti-First Amendment 101, man. Like if one of your hugest points on this pamphlet is, oh, I'm against free speech and I'm against the First Amendment, I don't want you to support this movement.
You can't boycott.
Exactly. Yeah. If you boycott the state of Israel,
the first word.
You must be anti-Semitic. Why would you want to change anything in the world? Why not leave it how it is? It works for me. I don't know if it works for you, but me, Lacy Clay, it works perfectly fine.
And with these Israel PACs, like they're not, skimping on any money too, because something I had read on the Omar race, excuse me, they've already spent 2 times as much on that race for Ilhan Omar's race than the Senate race for Minnesota, which is obviously a bigger, more important. But what that tells you is that what Ilhan Omar is saying and advocating for is effective and is actually
really
changing
speaking
things
to her community. And the establishment wants to change that so bad. They don't want to allow her to speak these truths and really speak to not only her constituents but people around the world. And around the country, more specifically, is when you.
I've been informed people can't see the pamphlet, but that's okay. We read it out.
We read out the important parts, the things that stood out to us. You can find it on Twitter. You can just find it on Google. Look up Lacy Clay pamphlet. You'll find it. And the YouTube video upload will be out tomorrow, so you can go ahead and skim through everything, see the articles we're talking about. Everything will be timestamped up. So next we wanted to.
Well, wait.
Go ahead.
Wanted to let everybody know. I'll just let you guys know that we're going on about an hour and 30 minutes currently.
Okay, so we're due one more break here after we jump into this Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. And then we could go straight to break. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get your cues out, boys. Eyes up. We're about to get Pizzagate.
But it's pizza time.
Oh yeah, it's pizza time. So, do we want to jump into the?
Let's do the Ghislaine docs thing first.
We want to go to Ghislaine docs, then we can bring up the AXIOS Trump thing where he brings it out, or where he talks about it. Yeah. So go ahead and pull up the docs first. Jacan can talk about that, then we can jump into the Trump AXIOS interview, where he talks about it a little bit.
Which one is
that? The Epstein one should be.
Yeah, at the very
Okay, I guess it was this one.
So this one, okay, we have 2, and I'll mention the other one that's not on screen. Is they actually announced that there's going to be another delay of the rest of the docs and deposition they have for the Ghislaine Maxwell case. They're saying a delay of 2 months, which is ridiculous, but
it just gives them more time to spin their narrative,
right, and cover things up. And
exactly.
Who knows? But to this one. Obviously, we talked about DHS earlier being, a death squad, but they're actually gathering intelligence on activists and podcasters. There's a podcast we follow called True and Non-Pod, and they're just normal people that talk about Epstein and politics and what's going on in America.
Very extensively, keep in mind. If anybody's interested in Pizzagate without being super red-pilled by all the psychopaths online, check out True and Non podcast. They will teach you a lot. They incredible coverage, and they don't red-pill you.
But one of their hosts, Brace Belden, DHS has a whole, as leaked in these pictures here, they have a whole memo on him, claiming he's part of Antifa and he's tied to some foreign radical.
They're basically trying to spin it like he's like
a terrorist,
Antifa super soldier, militant terrorist guy who's coming to poison the minds of everybody.
Right, and it's ridiculous because it's like they could really do this to anyone, and they're just going after
exactly
people.
Anybody that breaks free from the mold, you can just label this fucking this. Yeah, this.
Can you click on the third picture in that one, Carlos? It's just funny because they have to do like a whole serious memo on him. Meanwhile, this guy is like, normal private citizen that makes jokes. His displayed name is Lenin Lover 69. His username is
Piss Pig Granddad.
Yeah.
So, like he could
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, just a normal guy, run-of-the-mill memer, runs a podcast where he talks about things that aren't in the mainstream, and look what our government's doing, man. We're cracking down, writing full memos, pictures of him, information about his personal life. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So
run into the Trump thing, so we can.
So next we're going back to the Trump Axios interview, and he briefly touches on. There should be a timestamp to bring up the Epstein stuff. He briefly talks about
2535.
Yeah, briefly talks about the Ghislaine Maxwell and Trump's lack of not only self-awareness but just lack of any sort of coherent and cognitive processes is just hilarious. Yeah. So as soon as this video is pulled up, we're gonna start it, and just listen.
Right now, we have to live with it. But we're challenging it in many courts.
You're going to litigate
all over the country.
Mr. President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is."
Especially when I lived in
Palm
Beach.
Has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
I don't know that, but I do know that.
Good save there, Trump.
I don't know if she's actually leading a pedophile sex ring. I don't know. I don't have all the details.
For that,
her friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah.
Either killed or Trump. Trump's
fucking based ass Trump, dude.
Yeah, you can definitely tell
he admitted it.
Leaving some fucking breadcrumbs, dude. Galaxy brain.
He's just kind of like trying to play.
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out.
Dodge the question.
Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking.
See how he's not name dropping either.
And they took that. And
I mean, she's a child.
Her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend.
Who's her boyfriend?
Right there. Rewind really quick.
He even mentions his name several times.
Go ahead.
How did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that. And
I mean, she's a child, alleged child sex trafficking.
Big deal.
Big deal that she's a child sex trafficker. Big deal. We have more important things going on, like my son going to online school while I make a bunch of other Americans suffer and go to regular school and potentially catch this deadly disease that we don't have a treatment for. But yeah, big deal. Big deal.
I can see Trump and Maxwell like in a mock-up of that Wolf of Wall Street scene with fucking oh god, what am I losing his name? Matthew McConaughey, who's all you gotta pump those numbers up. Yeah. Those are rookie numbers.
Join me.
Yeah. Is that all we have from the clip? Or?
I think it ends at around here. We can move on. If anything, he just says more dumb shit.
Let's hit the break and then we just have like a little outro after.
We're gonna do a little outro and maybe talk about the meaning of spoop. So we're gonna hit one last break. We're gonna be playing some Slump Boys for you guys on our last break. So go ahead and get that played. Get the cameras off, and
to anybody that's just joining right now, all the music that we play are local.
Yeah, everybody we play is local. If you're interested in getting your music on the podcast, go ahead and DM us on our Twitter at Spoop Podcast, SPOOP Podcast. All right, go ahead and get the music, and we will get to the outro when we're back. See you in about 5 minutes.
Sons, nigga. She let me drive, this a G-Ride, cuz picking the homies up, then we robbing all the plugs. Y'all ain't busting none, got guns, take pistol. We don't flex straps, cause we really taking trips with them. Boy, you better get them if and when the gang say so. Yeah, I don't vacate, we in your house for your sake, though. Pistols to your face, on again, y'all don't pay those. Watch the streets heavy, cause police investigating, no. Hence is what we aiming for, neck, chest, and ribs. You ain't down to shoot, why the fuck you in the whip? She in love with the dick, now she keep my extra clip. She lining up them lips, turned her to a gangster bitch. Baby K got a stick, I don't need to call the cops. How you call yourself a gangster when you beefing over thoughts? And if you want to sneak this on this 4-200 block, we criminal, but we gon' pull up in all black to your spot, man.
Oldies in the G-Ride, clutching on my 4-5, throwing up my gang sign, swerving through the south side, with a handy till I throw up, push them out for the missing soldiers. Bitch, I thought I told you, it's hoes down and fold up.
Cracking doors, finding keys, that's a G-whip. You talking guns, making calls, I don't mean shit. On the block, gangsta walk with a C-fit. Baby gangsters on the come up on some G shit. 2-minute drive, that's a 20-minute cruise. Enough time to make it on the motherfucking news. Always geek, so I never gotta hit the snooze. Signed up, fuck it, if I gotta let it loose. Time's up, shorty, really gotta pick and choose. Walk up, now you really gotta hit these fools. On the gang, gotta gain and maintain though. Brain fly still hanging like these chains for. Macking hoes, I'm sticking to the G code. Free my dogs, I won't see these niggas fold. Pull that thing out, then we gon' see that gold. Getting shit for free, it was never fucking sold.
Oldies in the G-Ride, touching on my 4-5, throwing up my gang sign, swerving through the south side, with a handy till I throw up, push them out for the missing soldiers. Bitch, I thought I told you, it's hoes down and fold up.
Back on the scene, so crispy, so clean. With 2 guns for that sticky ass green. Shoe up in the driver's seat, posted up with infant. Markey in the back straight, loan up the shoddy. Looking for somebody, see the homie RC. Known to keep it cracking, all my hoes was packing. Fuck you said we lacking, y'all homies need some practice. Your block, yeah, we had it too. Better have a strap or two. Moving like a shoe fool, get you blown like tissue. Giving up that issue, looking from the boys and blues. With the homies fucked up, Eian jam throwing up. Throwing crash, collecting funds, that's what West mighty son. Hit a lick, it's on us, talking like he grown buzz. Blowing shit like a angel does, OG like my double cut. All my soldiers ready to dump, heavy metal so we got the drum. Dumb nigga, you don't even want none.
Oldies in the G-Ride, clutching on my 4-5, throwing up my gang sign, swerving through the south side, so they handy till I throw up, push them out for the missing soldiers. Bitch, I thought I told you, it's hoes down and fold up.
Hello. We're back. Hope everybody's enjoying that. That is Slump Boys, Swerving. Let's get back into it. So
we don't have much left, so stay with us if you're still here.
Michael, you're still muted, just letting you know. So we're towards the end. We're going to do a brief description of what Spoop is and kind of where it came from. And then we're going to do a little outro. Jacan is going to do a little something for us, and then we're going to play our outro. And we will get out of your hair. Hope you guys are enjoying everything. So let's get into it. Spoop. What is Spoop? And where did it come from? Jacan, if you want to maybe touch on that, and we can open it up.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly sure the origin of spoop for sure, but kind of like the word meme, it's like a multi-use term that means almost everything and almost nothing at the same time.
Which is also a good example of our current political climate, where everything can be happening at once, but also nothing can be happening at the same time.
Which is personified by Trump.
Exactly, and
nothing's true, but everything's true. You don't know what's real.
It was very fitting for the podcast because politics is being ever changing. It's good to talk about serious stuff, but also with a name like Spoop, it gives it that comedy, that comedic relief that is so necessary in a lot of subjects, but politics specifically. And like he touched on, spoop is one of those words that means literally nothing, but also means every and anything that you want it to mean. And like contextually can do so much for a conversation while also being a meme at the same time.
You don't even have to just say spoop. It could be spooping, spooper.
There's exactly.
Spoopy,
speep,
spongles.
Yeah,
it's just a play on words. Just use it however you like. Honestly.
Exactly. And I hope one of the biggest takeaways from this, regardless of how long this lasts, is you need spoop in your life, man. You need the comedic relief. It helps. This world can get tough, it can get dark, and it can get pretty cloudy.
Trump said, I like to stay positive.
These good vibes, they're so necessary.
These good vibes. Trump is just dissing a blunt Twitter.
Exactly. Trump is really dissing a blunt Twitter. But instead of blunt, it's invading countries.
Right, yeah.
Or dropping
Venezuela.
Vuvuzela.
Vuvuzela. Should we do the quote and then get on out of here?
Yeah, really quick. Shout out Mayor McCheese, man. But
yeah, we should harp on that for 1 second.
Mayor McCheese, to me, the reason we chose him as our logo, probably to tie into the meme, but also kind of shit on multinational corporations.
It's like just picturesque capitalism.
Exactly. It encapsulates capitalism at its finest, preying on children, indoctrinating them early.
Right. Trying to turn them into burger humans.
Exactly. And it's also just fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look funny.
So we're gonna end it off. Jacan's gonna read a quote from a book. Go ahead and talk about the book really quick, and let's get this quote and get out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do this often. Try to bring up a little quote or a little reading so that we have something to leave off with. For today, a week or two ago, I was in Palm Springs and I got some time to read "Wretch of the Earth," which is by Frantz Fanon. He's a psychiatrist from France. And he was part of the revolutionary struggle of Algeria. And he learned a lot just from that, concerning violence and militancy within decolonization and within Africa. And he wrote this book right before he died. And he died I want to say he was 30 or 40. He was pretty young. And he had a lot to say. So I'm going to read this quote to you and then we'll expound a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. It is therefore a diplomacy in motion, in rage, which contrasts strangely with the petrified, motionless world of colonization. And when Mr. Khrushchev brandishes his shoe at the United Nations and hammers the table with it, no colonized individual, no representative of the undeveloped countries, laughs. For what Mr. Khrushchev is showing, what he is showing the colonized countries who are watching, is that he, the missile-wielding Mushik, is treating these wretched capitalists the way they deserve. Likewise, Castro, if you've ever seen the videos of Castro making speeches at the UN, he says, likewise, Castro attending the UN in military uniform does not scandalize the underdeveloping countries. What Castro is demonstrating is how aware he is of the continuing regime of violence from these colonizers. What is surprising is that he did not enter the UN with his machine gun, but perhaps they would not have allowed that. And I chose this quote because we really do have to be serious and militant about what we're doing. Just as Castro was.
We have to be organized. And we have to be this.
No matter what they say, if they try to paint you as something, too radical or, stepping out of line, or the point is we have to be militant about these things because they're literally killing us.
It's life or death. Maybe not for you, but it's life or death for people in this country. Not having healthcare is life or death for people.
And Fanon puts that down here with Castro, because Castro literally, it's life or death what happens in those UN councils for him.
Exactly.
So he shows up in full military regalia, and he's like, "We're going to have a conversation about our country and your country. Let's have a conversation about our country and your country. Let's be real.
Let's cut the bullshit.
I'm not here to be your friend. Yeah,
we are literally at war almost.
Yeah, and as we covered earlier, think what you want of Castro. Look how that's worked out for Cuba.
Exactly. Cuba is thriving. Cuba has made such gains in the medical field. Their medical field, I believe it's specifically their biotech field, is so advanced. They lead like globally with the gains in medical science. Yeah. And I think that's just an attestament to when you're militant, when you're certain of what you're doing, what path you're taking, you can accomplish a lot and you can really turn a country around. And I think a big part of that is leaning away from capitalism, getting into a social like a socialist system where people have the opportunity to make the decision on what's best for their country. No country that is truly powered by the people is going to be like, oh yeah, McDonald's, ExxonMobil, come destroy our country, right? Pay our workers nothing, and then reap the benefits of capitalism. No, they're going to say, fuck
they're
that.
Not going to do that.
Exactly. No, why would you vote against your interests like that? When you're given an actual opportunity to better your life in democratic elections, you usually better your life, because why would you not?
And that's what we're all about with our brand of socialism, I guess.
Exactly.
It's all about giving normal people democratic power over their lives.
We're reformists, not revolutionists. And I don't shit on revolutionaries. I just think,
but once again, labels is
stupid.
Beyond the point, because there's definitely things in revolutionary thought that are important.
No, of course, but
does anyone have any final things they want to jump on, or you guys want to sign off?
No, I think we should just go ahead and sign off. We've taken up the people's time. What I will say is,
hour and 50.
Yeah. What I will say is, as our logo says, workers unite. Keep up to date with us and the podcast on our Twitter at Spoop Podcast. Keep up with our socials. I'm at 6Eian, 6EIAN, the number 6. Then we have Jacan, which is at Pineal DMT, PINEAL. Then we have Michael Reyes. Your ad is _ Reyes with 2 Y's.
Yep.
And then we have Carlos, our technician, the mastermind behind everything, making sure we run smoothly.
If we could all get
a round of applause, everybody at home, a clap and chat, Carlos, everything. Please. He made all this possible.
I don't think the stream went down, so I'm happy.
His Twitter is at Shang Production, SHANG Production, Shang Production. That's our socials. The podcast is at Spoop Podcast. The SoundCloud will be available shortly after this. We're gonna go ahead and upload that, and then 24 hours after this ends is when Twitch gives us access to the VOD, and we can upload it on YouTube without any sort of copyright strike. So anybody who didn't get to catch the whole thing can either watch the VOD now or wait for a nice 1080p 60 FPS upload tomorrow.
We don't have 60
Thank you
frames.
so much to everyone.
Thank you everybody that supports us. All the follows that we got literally overnight. Everybody throughout the day.
We will be doing a show next Wednesday. We want to do 2 days, but we'll have to figure that out. Yeah. But for now, it's every Wednesday, same time should be.
Yeah, Wednesday at around 10:30. We're gonna start our shows. They'll be live.
But our other one, we might start doing Sunday shows. So we'll keep everyone in the loop.
Yeah, make sure you follow us on the Twitter. Keep updated, and thank you everybody who watched, who joined, who just left, etc., etc. So we're gonna play you guys out with my friend Marcus, otherwise known as Omega Nova here in Oxnard. His song "Game Over." I think it's a pretty nice spacey beat, and that will take us home. I hope you guys learned a lot and learned a little bit about us and what we want.
Last stop.
What we want to do for this country. So yeah, everybody have a good night. Thank you again. And good night. Enjoy the song. Remember, if you do local music, local band, etc., and you want your music on the podcast, just DM us on the Twitter. Literally, that's all you have to do. We'll get that worked out. So yeah, signing off. The Spoop Podcast. Have a good night.
I'm torn to bits, I'm shattered, this is the last of me. The love we carried for so long and then the door so savagely. And with the lack of me, I'm sure you'll live on happily. The jersey of our fantasy hangs up just like a tapestry. It never had to be this way, I'm just fucked up. Never showed you I loved you, never showed you I loved us. Promise you I did, it's too late to take it back. And hurting you was never planned, because to me you're like crack. I'm a fiend for that body, a fiend for your mind. Got a divine mental shrine, love to hit it from behind. But those days are behind us, tears me up inside. And I never meant to rip your heart out, baby, make you cry. And I ask myself why I have been so careless. With no mistake I vision this woman with me through marriage. And I played with that hard to lying game, so ashamed. Could never stop loving you, I can't put out the flame, I hate your name. I still hear your fucking name.